Good morning. I'm so excited to be back with you. I'm excited to be teaching again, and I'm excited for this new series. I know that the one group of people you've spent the most time with during this quarantine is your family. And regardless of whether that's awesome or awful, I bet it's been a little bit of both, which is why I'm thinking that this will be a great launch into our series. So welcome to Big Picture Week 1. If you're a middle schooler, you're in the right place. High schoolers, hey, feel free to stick around, but your talk is dropping later today at 5 p.m. We technically kicked this off yesterday on Instagram, and if you missed that, that's okay. We basically just set up the tension that we all very easily often miss the big picture around us. We tend to look at just one circumstance, one event, one detail, and think about the way that's impacting us right now. We also said that when it comes to our families, we all too often think of ourselves as the center of attention and miss out on the big picture in our family dynamics. And missing that bigger picture can cause a lot of frustration and hurt within our families. And look, these types of tricky family dynamics have been around for as long as there have been families. In fact, some of the craziest stories in the Bible are about this very topic. And trust me, these family stories are a lot crazier than any of us can imagine. Today, we're going to look at one guy in the Bible who found himself in the middle of a pretty crazy family situation. His name was Joseph. Not the Joseph with Mary and Jesus. This is a Joseph who came from a really big family. And he was actually a really big deal in the Old Testament, which is a collection of books written in the Bible before Jesus came to earth. And we're going to be in the first book of the Old Testament today, the first book of the Bible, in fact, Genesis. And you can turn there in your Bible or on your phone or just sit tight because I'm going to have them on the screen for you as well. So let me set us up here. Joseph was one of the youngest sons of a man named Jacob. And Joseph had a lot of older brothers, like 10. So we're talking a big family here. And while your family may not be as large as Joseph's, I doubt your family's dynamics are much different. Let's take a look at what made some of the relationships in Joseph's family so tricky. It says, Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. So basically, Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children, and he did nothing to hide it. Jacob could have just said, hey, other sons, I just want you to know that Joseph over here is my best. He's my favorite. But he didn't just say that. He went out and showed it too. It's like he got Jacob some brand new Air Jordans while the rest of his brothers were having to rock their dusty old sandals. And can you see how this might create some tension in their family? Well, what happened next only made matters worse. So let's take a look. One night, Joseph had a dream. And when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. Listen to this dream, he said. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood up and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine. Okay, so this is weird. Basically, Joseph had a dream where he and his brothers were working in a field together. Remember, this is olden times. Joseph's family are farmers, and suddenly the bundle of grain that Joseph was tying up rose to stand above the others. And like the bundles of grain that his brothers were tying, they bowed down to Joseph's bundle of grain. It was a symbol implying that one day Joseph's brothers are going to bow down to him. Now, here's the thing. If one of our siblings came up to us with this crazy dream, we'd probably just roll our eyes and walk off. It's just a dream after all. But in this culture, dreams were a much bigger deal. They were actually believed to be predictions of the future. So when Joseph shared his dream about his brothers actually bowing down to him, they believed that he believed that this was really going to happen. And as this passage tells us, hearing that made Joseph's brothers hate him all the more. And what's worse, in the next few verses, Joseph went on to share another dream he had, this time where the stars, the sun, and the moon all bowed down to worship him. And as you can probably guess, his brothers got even more hacked off after hearing about this second dream. But what do dreams and all this family drama have to do with you and me? Well, I think what we can learn from the beginning of this story is this. When we can't see the bigger picture, we should remember the impact we have on our families. Now, Scripture doesn't tell us what everyone in Joseph's family was thinking or feeling, but we can guess a lot based on their actions. It seems like everyone, Joseph, his brothers, and even his dad didn't notice how their actions affected each other. You could say they were missing some major self-awareness, and they definitely didn't see the big picture. All that combined caused a lot of conflict. Think about it. Jacob loved his son, Joseph, so much that he treated him differently than the rest of his brothers. Jacob didn't see the bigger picture, that he was causing a lot of tension and conflict between his sons. And Joseph's brothers, well, they weren't aware of the way their strong and harsh responses to Joseph impacted him. Even though they were reacting to the hurt caused by their dad's favoritism of Joseph, that didn't give them the justification to be ugly to him. And the way they treated Joseph certainly affected him. Even Joseph struggled in the self-awareness department. He knew his brothers were jealous of the way their father loved and favored him. But still, Joseph came to them with not one, but two dreams about how great he would be one day. He didn't see the big picture of how sharing those things might hurt his brothers even more. So everybody in this story was missing the bigger picture. They weren't paying attention to how they were negatively affecting their other family members. And honestly, I think that's true for a lot of the family tension and stress that we experience. Typically, nobody is trying to be self-centered. We're simply trying to make sure that our needs are getting met. We're trying to make sure that things go the way that we want them to go. We're not trying to hurt anybody else. We're honestly not thinking about anybody else at all, but that's the problem. Because when we only think about ourselves, we miss the bigger picture. We miss the way our actions impact others. And let me step in real close here for a minute. Maybe you feel like nobody else in your family is paying attention to how their actions impact you. Maybe your mom has lied about something, or your dad has left, or one of your siblings has hurt you repeatedly without consequence. And to you, I'd say this: there's more to those stories too. The people who hurt you or your family, they usually do that because somebody hurt them, and they're reacting out of their own pain. Does that make what they did okay? Absolutely not. And I really encourage you to talk to someone you trust if you're being mistreated or harmed in some way. But it can help us see the big picture when it comes to the way we feel about them. All right, here's the point. When you can't see the big picture, remember the impact you have on your family. So many of us are hyper aware of the way our family affects us, but we rarely are aware of how we affect them. And that's what happened with Joseph's story. And look how that turned out. Not great. Everybody's upset, and as we'll see in later weeks, things got worse before they got better. So instead of letting this be the story of our own families, we can flip the way we see what's happening. We can work on becoming more aware of how our words and actions and behaviors impact our families. When you can't see the big picture, remember the impact you have on your family. Now, what does that actually look like? How do we start seeing the big picture when it comes to how our actions impact our family? Be aware. I think we have to work on developing an accurate view of ourselves. We have to be aware of how our actions impact others. So start by asking yourself, how is the way I'm acting affecting my family? How can I put my family first? What do I need to do to give up or put aside to serve my family? What can I do to put my family's needs before my own? And listen, paying attention to how our actions affect others is hard. It's not always easy for us to see the way we're impacting other people. And if you aren't sure, ask someone close to you for honest help. Ask me, or your small group leader, or parent or sibling. Go to someone who knows you well and will speak the truth in love. Ask them to help you see something in yourself that maybe you can't see on your own. And then take a step. Take one step to change that thing in yourself, or to be more aware of the way it impacts others. Then choose a different response. Maybe you always speak harshly to your younger sibling, so you need to practice recognizing and correcting that tone of voice you use. Maybe you leave clothes or dishes or school stuff all around the house for your mom to clean up, so you need to practice better self-awareness to pick up after yourself. Or maybe you need to control your temper instead of blowing up at your family when you're tired or frustrated or mad. Whatever it is, pause and think about how you're affecting others. Look at how you're impacting the bigger picture and make a move to change it for the better. We're going to dig into this further in our digital community group that we'll drop later this week. It's also going to come with an XP, which just stands for experience. an activity that will help us process what we're talking about. There will be one each week to accompany our talks, and I'm really excited about it and the impact it could have in your family dynamics at home. So make sure that you're subscribed, or the bell notifications or the reminders or all those kind of things are set so you don't miss it. But before I leave, I want you to wrestle with something. Think about this question. What's one way I might be causing conflict or tension in my family? And sit with that for a moment. And then ask Jesus to help you take a step today. And we'll see you back later this week in our community group.